Affairs at Hello Heart. Dr. Morgan, welcome back to Morning Rush. Good to see you.
Hi, thanks, Holly. Always great to be here with you.
So tell us about these new guidelines. Who could or should be taking hormone replacement therapy and when? What are they intended to do?
You know, the whole issue around hormone replacement therapy really started back at around 2000, 2001, 2002, when the Women's Health Initiative came out with a lot of overstated results, linking estrogen usage to cancer and increased risk of heart disease. And sort of overnight, really, the prescription of hormones for women sort of disappeared, really. And for people like me, we received no training on it at all. Well, since that time, we've actually gone back to take another look at those studies and take a closer look. And it turns out that quite a bit of that was overstated. Those risks are not as high as we actually thought, and some of those risks don't exist at all, specifically if you're taking estrogen only in those women without a uterus.
And so what evidence did they find? I mean, what were they concerned about, first of all, and then what did they find did or did not really happen?
And so when we look at estrogen replacement specifically now, it generally is not given in a pill form. And that was the formulation that was used in these studies 20 to 25 years ago. Similar to birth control pills, it can increase your risk of developing blood clots. Estrogen replacement therapy in perimenopause and menopause is actually a lower dose than in birth control pills. It also is not given in a pill form usually. It's usually given in a patch or a gel or a cream. So there's this transdermal formulation, or also in the vagina. So that's one thing. We were looking at a pill formulation in that trial when in fact that is actually not how it's prescribed today.
And you mentioned the hormone, the formulation also has changed, not just the delivery method. If you would explain the difference now and then from the early aughts to where we are now. I understand, I mean, we're talking a little bit different, even progesterone, progestin, not necessarily the estrogen, but talk a little bit about that sort of nuance.
Now, when we look at these formulations, you know, one of the things that we have realized over these 2 decades that have transpired is that estrogen receptors really are throughout the woman's body, not just in her reproductive system. So not just the breast and the pelvis and the cervix. And really for our lifetime, women's health has really just been reduced to reproduction. But what we're understanding now is that we've got these receptors on our hearts, in our brains, in our lungs. It actually drives the function and the well-being of women. And we see the risk of heart disease doubling in women during perimenopause. So prior to menopause, a woman's risk of heart disease is only half that of a man's. And on the other side of menopause, it equals that of a man. And the difference is that loss of estrogen. So estrogen does confer some protection for women prior to menopause. And so that's what a lot of this conversation has been about: protection of bones and muscle and brain function, and what are our options, and should women be allowed to choose as opposed to the government?
So are there people, though, who should not be taking hormone replacement therapy?
You know, we still have some contraindications. If you have a personal history of cancer, specifically breast cancer or reproductive cancers, that's still a contraindication to hormone replacement therapy. But a family history of cancer is no longer a contraindication. And as we continue to develop our research and our data, we will learn more and more and more about this. But currently, contraindications would be a personal history of cancer and other things as well. You have a personal history of blood clots. These are all contraindications to estrogen replacement therapy and progesterone. So it's not a panacea for everyone. Removing the black box doesn't mean that it just gets sprinkled over everyone's food. It just means that this warning has been removed for physicians, and that these are conversations that can be had in a much safer environment. And women are allowed to choose Hormone replacement therapy is not for everyone. People can choose what they would like to do. There's a lot of symptom control just with other drugs. It doesn't have to be hormone replacement therapy, but at least this black box has been removed such that these are conversations that can be had, and women can make these decisions for themselves.
And when they first were working on hormone replacement therapy, were there different hormones that were given? I know estrogen was given, but progestin versus progesterone, I mean, have they also kind of tweaked the types and the kinds of hormones that women receive for this?
That's true. It's also the types of hormones that were given in that study, and also the age of the women. Some of the women were well beyond the age of menopause. And so whenever we're doing research, we need to have the study group be reflective of the indication in which it will be prescribed. And so many of these women were much older than menopausal age, some even at the age of 70. And so we are taking results from a group of women and then extrapolating it to a different group of women. And so there are a number of flaws in that trial as we start to dial it back and take a closer look. And there have been many who have been on the forefront of this, including myself, to ask whether or not these trials and this data and these studies should actually have a second look. And we've been doing that all along.
And just real quickly before I let you go, I want to take a step back because you have been on the forefront of advocating for women's medicine and health. We are in an age of modern medicine. We can cure some diseases we never thought possible. We can prevent deadly diseases, keep people alive longer. Why is something like this, hormone replacement, taken so long to figure out? And I guess in the broad picture, women's health really seems to lag behind, it seems.
Yes, the reason it seems so is because it is so. And really the way medicines are developed here is we enroll men in trials, generally white men, and they're usually 70 kilograms. And so all of medicine is sort of developed on this one type of person, this 70 kilogram male, and it's extrapolated to all of the rest of us. So women, being the majority of the population, really are bearing the brunt of that. And we've seen that recently in beta blockers, which is a type of medication that has shown very good usage in people who've had a heart attack to prevent a second heart attack. But it turns out now we see in women that it actually may be causing second heart attacks, increasing death and hospitalization. The reason we didn't know that is that women were not included in these trials. So we must begin to include women in trials, begin to develop trials for women, and begin to look at women beyond just reproduction.
Dr. Jane Morgan, thank you so much for your time, your expertise, your insight. We always appreciate it. Hope to see you soon here on Morning Rush. Thank you.
Thank you, Holly.